Okay, guys, before we get into the next bit of new information and really sort of the last information for this unit, I want to do a quick review on radicals, meaning square roots, because they're going to come up today and they'll even come up as we move forward yet this year. So main thing I want to review first is what does it mean to simplify a radical? So remember, this is when we have a square root. Yes, I can type it in a calculator and I can get a decimal, but I can also break that square root down. So step one is to factor the value under the square root. In other words, I'm literally going to old school factor tree, right? So if I have 63, well, what multiplies to 63? Well, 63 is 9 times 7. I know that 9 is 3 times 3. And obviously 7 doesn't break down. Values that have pairs move out front, singles stay inside. So I have a pair of 3s. So the value of 3 moves out front. My single 7 stays inside. Because the 9 broke down, I'm not using the 9. It became the 3 times 3. Multiply if needed. If you have more than one number out front or you have more than one number inside, you would need to multiply them back together. In this case, I only have the 3 and the 7, so 3 square root 7 would be my final answer. If we looked at another example, here I have the square root of 108. So if I break down 108, not everything's going to be a common times table. If it's an even number, okay, I can always divide it by 2, right? 2 times, in this case, 54. Well, 54 is a number that I know a little bit more about. I know that 54 is 6 times 9. I know that 6 is 2 times 3, and I know that 9 is 3 times 3. Whoops, crazy 3, but you see. And so now I'm looking for where are my pairs, right? Well, here is a pair of 3s. Here is actually a pair of 2s. And then there is sort of this single 3 here kind of in the middle of my screen. So what I have is a pair of 2s times a pair of 3s on the outside, and inside I have a single 3. So that's going to make my final answer 6 square root 3. So hopefully this is something we remember. The other item is what happens if I want to multiply things with square roots. Basically, you want to multiply the fronts and you want to multiply the insides separately. So that means in number 5 here, if I multiply what I have out front, I have 2 times 6, that's 12. Inside my square roots, I have 5 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. But we don't want to consider this finished until we simplify that square root. So I need to take this 40 and I need to say, well, 40 I know is 4 times 10. I know that 4 is 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5. And so if I'm looking at those pairs, here's a pair of 2s. Single 2, single 5, right? Don't forget about this 12 that was already out front. So you already had a 12 out front, times, now I'm bringing that pair of 2s out front. Inside my square root, single 2, single 5. So now multiply. 2 times 12 out front means the front is 24. Inside, 2 times 5 means there's a 10. Same idea over here on what is called number 6. If there's nothing in front of your square root, consider the invisible 1. 5 times 1 makes 5. Square root 3 times 12 makes 36. Now you can make a factor tree on 36, but you really should be able to recognize your perfect squares. The square root of 36 is 6. And there was a 5 out front. So 5 times this gave me 6. That means my final answer is 30, and there's actually no square root remaining.